All right, guys, happy Friday. Last math lesson for the week. Apparently, Miss Stevenson is ready for the weekend, too. She can't even talk today. Okay, so talking about common denominators today. Remember, denominators are the bottom numbers in a fraction, and common denominators are just a common multiple of the denominators of two or more fractions. So we're going to be rewriting fraction pairs as fractions with common denominators. Okay, so in order to write fraction pairs with a common denominator, we've got to follow these steps. So the first step we got to do is, one, we have to have our fraction pair, right? So we've got 4/5 and 1/2 that we're looking at, okay? So then we're going to list the multiples of both denominators, and then we're going to circle the one that they have in common, the smallest one. So when we're going to list out these multiples of both denominators, so my denominators are which two numbers? The 4 and the 1 or the 5 and the 2? Very good. The 5 and the 2. Okay, so I'm going to put 5 and I'm going to put 2. And we're going to go ahead and just list out the first 5 multiples of each. And then if we don't find anything, then we'll keep going. Okay, so first 5 multiples. Remember, multiples are when we're multiplying out. 5 times 1, 5 times 2. Okay, so we've got 5. Then what would be next? 10. And then, good, 15, 20, and 25. Very good. All right, let's go now with 2. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Very good. Okay, so let's see if we've found any common multiples doing that many. Okay, 5, no, 10, yes, so there's one common multiple. Okay, are we going to have anything else listed here? No. Now, would we eventually get to 20? Yes, if we kept going. But remember, we want the least common multiple. So the smallest multiple they have in common. Okay, so we're going to use 10 as our new denominator. Okay, that's going to be our new denominator for both. So I've got the fraction 4/5, and I've got the fraction 1/2. And that's what we started with, remember? Okay, so now we're going to be having lesson 2 come back into play here when we were making equivalent fractions, okay? Because now we know that our new denominator for both of these numbers has to be what? Right, it's got to be 10. It has to be that least common multiple that we found between those two fractions. So here's where lesson 2 comes back into play. We're going to be multiplying to make equivalent fractions. However, instead of coming up with our own number today, we know what our new denominator has to be. So that means we have to look at it and say, okay, 5 times what gives me 10? Very good. 5 times 2 gives me 10. Okay, 2 times what gives me 10? Very good. 2 times 5 gives you 10. And what is our rule when we make equivalent fractions? Yes, whatever we do to the bottom, we must also do to the top. Okay, so that means if I'm multiplying my denominator by 2, I also have to multiply my numerator by 2. Or if I'm multiplying my denominator by 5, I must also multiply my numerator by 5. Okay, so what is 4 times 2? 8. Very good. What is 1 times 5? Very good. Okay, so now I have rewritten 4/5 and 1/2 as a fraction pair with equivalent, or not equivalent, as a fraction pair with common denominators. Okay? All right, let's do one more. Let's do one more. Okay. So I've got 7/5 and I've got 2/10. What two numbers am I going to be listing out multiples for? Very good. The 5 and the 10, because we are always finding the multiples of the denominators, which are the bottom numbers, okay? So remember, I would just suggest listing out the first 5 multiples of each, and then if you don't find one they have in common, then you can keep going, but always just start with 5. Okay, so again, multiples, remember, is when we're multiplying out. 5 times 1, very good. Then 10, 15, 20, and 25. Very good. All right, now the first 5 multiples of 10. 10, and then 20. Very good. And then 30, and 40, and then last 50. Okay, very good. All righty. So let's look for some common multiples. Do they have 5 in common? Nope. What about 10? Yep, they have 10 in common. What about 15? Nope. What about 20? Yep, they have 20 in common. What about 25? Nope. And then 30, 40, and 50 are not going to work from this list either. Okay, so now we've got 2 multiples that they have in common. We've got 10 and 20. Which one are we going to use? Right, we're going to use the 10. Why are we using 10 and not 20? Exactly, because we are looking for the least common multiple, the smallest one. Okay, so now we're going to rewrite these fractions with those denominators. Okay, so we've got 7/5, and it's going to have to equal something over 10. And then we've got 2/10. Oh, wait a second. 2/10 already has a denominator of 10. So what does that mean? Well, that means that 2/10 gets to stay exactly how it is because it already has that common denominator that we're looking for. So that means the only one we have to change is 7/5. So see, sometimes that's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to have to do like this first example where we have to change both. But sometimes it's going to work out nicely to where you already have one fraction that shares that common denominator and you only have to change one. Okay, so let's go ahead and change our one fraction that we need to. So 5 times what is going to give me 10? 5 times what is going to give me 10? Very good, 5 times 2. And remember, our rule to make equivalent fractions is what? Yes, whatever I do to the top or to the bottom, I must also do to the top. Okay, so 7 times 2 is, very good, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Uh-oh. Miss Stevenson made a boo-boo. Miss Stevenson wrote her fractions improperly, but that's okay. All righty, so now we have gotten our fractions with common denominators. All right, guys, that is it for today. Happy Friday. Go check your folders for any assignments, just in case. I will see you on Monday for some more of Chapter 6 and fractions.